morning. This is Jay Rovert for another one of our interviews, as I am the founder and director of the R&B group with one of our most interesting members, Max Fanwick, Vice President and Managing Director of the Allura Marketing Group. Max, good morning.
Good morning, Jay. Thank you so much for having me on. Really excited.
I still remember meeting Max about 10 years ago. I was referred to him by another very good friend, and I knew he was somewhere in his early 20s, and I was saying, why am I doing this? And we actually met in a restaurant on a Friday around 3 o'clock, and I came prepared to throw him fastballs, one after another. And you know what? He sat there very calmly, quietly eating his sandwich, and just knocked every pitch right out of the park. And then after getting to know him better, and now even learning more about his background, I could understand why. Max, going over your background, I was just going over about scouting, but the main thing, even in grade school, tell me that you started your business actually in grade school. Give us a little details.
Yeah, Jay. So I think I was always sort of an entrepreneur at heart. I think it's something that I must have just been born with the bug. And the earliest business that I really started was I got together with a few of my buddies in grade school, and we actually were selling snacks out of a locker because we were at a private school, a day school, and we didn't have a school store. And we're like, we thought about the idea. It would just be nice to have snacks on site. A lot of public schools in the area had school stores that were run by the PTA. So we wanted to step up and provide, that service, so to speak. And, we pulled together $5-10 a piece. One of the boys went to Costco and bought some chips and some candies. And we just, got an extra locker and started running the school store there. So, at the age of all of maybe 12, I was getting started.
Fascinating. And then I was also doing some homework on you, talking about scouting. And what I remember for myself was being on the field trip to become a second class and getting in a fight and getting thrown out of the scouting troop. Max, it seemed like you had a much more constructive experience. So why don't you give us a couple more details? So maybe if I can go back in life, I could do it a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely, Jay. My experience was definitely just a little bit different. So I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a really proud Scouter. I'm actually a third generation. My grandfather was an Eagle Scout. My uncle was an Eagle Scout, and I'm still an active Scoutmaster in Troop 15 in Stanford. And I think scouting was an amazing program in a lot of skill sets it gave me. I think it really teaches leadership. It teaches communication. One of the things I think it actually taught me that's a skill that can go under the radar is the ability to sort of prioritize in the triage, how to deal with crisis really well, which is a really, I think, underrated skill that people don't even think about until it's a little too late. But one of the experiences I had within scouting is there's a group within scouting called the Order of the Arrow. And the Order of the Arrow is essentially scouting's service organization. They help maintain the scout camps, and it's the older boys are actually elected by the whole troop. So both members and non-members vote. And one of the things I did when I was in the Order of the Arrow and I got more actively involved was I was actually put in charge of the trading post. So I was about 15 when I got put in charge of the trading post. And essentially we sell $4 patches and $20 hats that have the Order of the Arrow logos and commemorative items on them. But there's a lot of people who trade the patches, who buy and sell the patches. And because I was at the trading post chairman, I became very actively involved in what was essentially a business. At 15, we were running $15,000, $20,000 through the trading post, $2 at a time.
Right. I almost feel like I'm interviewing you for Dale Carnegie book or something. When you got to college, tell us a little bit about school, why you chose a school, and a bunch of your activities. I know you were very, very active in the track team.
Yeah, definitely. So I ran track throughout high school. I think my main two activities in high school were always track and scouting, as mentioned. I did some other activities as well, but those were sort of the focuses and the drivers for me. And in high school, I mainly focused on the high hurdles, and I was a pole vaulter as well. And in college, I continued that path. I actually really chose the team I chose because it was a phenomenal opportunity going to Franklin Pierce University to actually start the program. Wow. I ran track the first year they had a track team. I was actually the first captain of the track team my second year in college. I did actually graduate a year early. So I was captain of the team, ran there for 3 years, and actually focused on high hurdles and pole vault and ran the decathlon. And I joked that my track career is really sort of emblematic of my approach and my career as a whole, that I had this real diversity. I was running the decathlon. You have to be able to throw a javelin, be able to throw a discus. You have to be able
Yeah.
to high jump, although I never really could.
Yeah.
You have to run the high hurdles and the mile or the 1500. And you got to do a little bit of everything. And I think that's sort of what I've had to do in business is, one of the really fun things for me is handling such different categories and different products and different personalities. And I think that's why I went that entrepreneurial route is every day I get up and it's completely different. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Right. And it must have taken you about 5 years to graduate with all these activities and final exams and school and all this.
No, 3 years.
And Max, tell us, I know one of the things is you started out with Designs to the Max. When did that start and how did it start?
Yeah. So Designs to the Max was a business that I actually started when I was in high school. So interestingly enough, I just always had a background in web design, graphic design, something I was just kind of able to do. I was interested in. My dad is a database developer by background, and taught, basically gave me a book in 5th grade how to code in HTML. I'm sure the websites I built in raw HTML would horrify me today, but the person who actually connected us, Ed Katz, who's, absolutely amazing, has been a huge advocate as I've developed my business, called up my dad, when I was in high school, do you know anybody who can fix my printer, who can help me with, my technical issues? And he goes, honestly, you could probably hire someone, but they're going to be $100 an hour. I'm going to send Max to your house and, for $15 an hour, he'll be more than happy to help you with whatever you need. And I go over there and for 2 hours, I'd help him rewire his computer, just clean up some desktop stuff and make sure that, it's running quickly. And he would say, hey, I have this this client who needs some logo help. Do you think you can help them modify their logo? And I would jokingly say, no, but give me a week and I'll figure it out. So that's how Designs to the Max got started.
Yeah.
And I actually had a number of jobs in high school. There was actually a big family office, a big hedge fund owner in Greenwich, Robert Gintel, who I really, so I worked directly for Robert Gintel after he retired. He was a really big photographer, really passionate. And I built his personal websites to just house his photographs for him. In high school, I was making 25 or $30 an hour, while my friends, flipping burgers, so to speak, were making $8.
Yeah.
So it was always really a sort of a point of pride that this sort of technical background could deliver there. And as it grew, first in high school and Designs to the Max, then even in college, where I kept the business going in some capacity while I was in college.
Yeah.
I eventually transitioned to exploratory media because I felt that Designs to the Max just wasn't as encompassing as the services we offered. It didn't really reflect the fact that it was no longer just design. It was also no longer just Max.
Interesting. Like I said, I still remember when Ed first introduced me to you and I was saying, why is he doing this to me? What? He's putting me in another embarrassing situation. And as much as I love Ed, I was saying, how am I going to get around this? And now I could see why you are where you are. So go from there. Tell us about your next venture and how you really got to have more of a global perspective, which most people are thinking about their county, their state, and having a social life. Talk to me.
Yeah, definitely. So I think as much as anything, I've gotten lucky. I think I've always had a lot of really great people around me. Yeah.
Lucky? All right.
I've always had a lot of really great people around me like yourself who have always been extremely supportive, been very generous. I think there's a few things that have happened throughout that have helped me. When I transitioned from Designs to the Max to exploratory media, which is sort of the first transition, it was actually through a series of clients we got in the e-commerce space that really helped me jump into e-commerce. And again, it was one of those things where I even said to them, I've never done e-commerce, but I think I can do better than you're doing it right now, just because you're not doing it. You're not paying attention to sort of your assets. The first website we took over was for a company called the Peterborough Basket Company in New Hampshire. Had a lot of success there. Then actually handled a number of clients through honestly at the time going on Craigslist or going on LinkedIn and finding people who were just looking for someone to help them. some of the earliest connections I made, I still have. I have an amazing connection with a colleague out in California who we built a website for that sold solar lamps. He basically does global import and export. So we were able to get an amazing perspective and have helped him build companies like Urban, which is a home goods company that is a really interesting model for sort of the modern economy. We actually have a factory in India that produces the goods, and I've actually gotten the incredible experience of visiting. That factory then sends the goods here. He makes sure that the operations all happen, that the duties are paid, it goes to, comes into the port, gets sent to the warehouse, and then we sell it. So essentially no one's actually at the business. So it's given us a really cool perspective and different ways to run things based on the companies I've had exposure to. And that's sort of how I grew Exploratory Media, was looking for different unique opportunities like Urban, where I got to build out my skill set, got some really interesting opportunities working for companies from startups that we've taken equity in up to Fortune 100s that we've done some really interesting projects for.
Yes.
And
throughout let's go over that again. Fortune 100s.
Yeah. So we've done projects for companies like Firestone and Johnson & Johnson, have had some really cool experiences where, one of them was for McNeil, Johnson & Johnson's pharmaceutical company, where they just needed help building a learning management system that was going to be more immersive for their drug reps. So as much as anything, a lot of our approach is always, finding a unique way to go about things. We had, a really great example is a client in 2015 who had one of the most interesting challenges we've ever dealt with. Their devices were essentially being sold out the back door by their distributors. And they came to us and they said, how do we prevent this? And I said, you don't prevent this, but you find out it's happening and then you reach out and you stop it. So we actually led a campaign where we outfitted all of their devices with RFID trackers, which were, maybe about $1 at the time, but they were $150 devices. So it was well worth the investment.
Sure.
We then bought the devices that violated the MAP pricing policies that they had set out, scanned them in at our warehouse, figured out which distributors were selling them out the back door, and actually sent them cease and desist letters. And I think that was a really cutting edge program when the distributors were first facing the threat of Amazon and they were looking for anything they could do to make up for those lost sales, that we were able to help a client take a really proactive approach.
Talk about that. Talk about the threat from Amazon. Talk about the idea people come up with great ideas and almost the first thing in their mind is, how do I get this off the ground? How do we market? And how do we stay independent, or at least learn how to deal with Amazon with some strength? Talk about that. That's such an interesting concept for the entrepreneurs today.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a great transition. We about 8 months ago, I merged Exploratory Media into Allura Global. And Allura Global is really an amazing company because I joke it's the only true product lifecycle management company I've ever seen or even been a part of. We handle everything from Allura Capital, which handles capital and M&A advisory, over to Allura Elevate, which handles product commercialization, bringing products from the U.S. Out of the U.S. and from out of the U.S. in. Also handling helping companies scale, HR, compliance, development, over to Pro Sales, which helps people build sales forces, and Allura Media, which I'm the managing partner of, which helps people with their marketing and technology needs. And one of the amazing things that we get to get through this is this great stream of amazing products that are coming in the door. And we see a lot of different approaches, but one of the biggest challenges a lot of our retailers have had is actually really unique. It's over the last 5 years and then the last 9 months. Over the last 5 years, you've had this amazing challenge from Amazon. Yes. Day one for Amazon, you used to make 100 widgets and you'd sell 90 and then you'd be stuck with 10 and you try and discount 5 of them and sell them to, a TJ Maxx or, some other wholesale type deal. And you'd throw 5 in a dumpster in the back of your apartment. Well, now those 5 widgets get sold to Amazon. And when Amazon first debuted, it was this miracle to manufacturers because they weren't stuck with the 5 widgets anymore. Well, then all of a sudden Amazon wanted 6 widgets and Walmart only wanted 50 instead of 100. So now Amazon's starting to eat away. And one of the things is Amazon doesn't issue POs 6 months in advance.
What's a PO?
A purchase order. So Amazon doesn't issue their purchase order 6 months in advance, like a Walmart or an Aldi's or, Stop and Shop might. They issue their POs 14 days in advance. So you can't really manufacture them to order. So it's led to all these really interesting challenges with product development life cycles where you have to forecast much more accurately. You're no longer just selling the Stop and Shop and they're doing the promotions, but you actually have to market the product on Amazon. And I think that's what led us to
No
joining.
idea.
Yeah, it's been fascinating because Amazon, when it first started, there was people who were selling because they used to sell to Walmart and Walmart stopped buying as many goods. So they were trying to make up for those lost sales. And there were marketing companies that were starting because they used to do advertising and they lost the ad dollars and they needed to make up for that lost revenue. I came at Amazon from a different approach. It was, I have clients who need to be represented well. How can I make sure that their products sell and, best serve the clients? So we took at the time what was a unique approach, but has sort of become the standard of taking a revenue share of success and then really taking a different approach in terms of making sure that advertising was done well, the distribution was done well, but also making sure that the listing converted people, that the photography was done, and really all encompassing, realizing it's not just about having product and it's not just about advertising, but you have to have the whole kit and caboodle. And one of the interesting challenges is over the last 9 months, we probably have said no to honestly 3 or 4 times as many clients as we've taken on in the Amazon space because it's so challenging. Everybody has gotten into it since the start of COVID because retail stores are just not open.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge that we have is Amazon's such a wildly different space from retail. People have an item in retail and they see these $1 million POs and you sort of have to get $1 million PO to get into Walmart. There's nothing less. Well, on Amazon, you start out selling $1,000 and you start out at a much smaller level and work your way up. You also compete with brands you have never heard of.
Sure.
So, literally a massive Fortune 100 client will list their item on Amazon and they'll wonder why they don't have a 50% market share day one, like they do at Stop and Shop and Walmart. And it just doesn't work the same way. So some of the best selling items on Amazon exist nowhere but Amazon.
Right. It's interesting how this is having such a dramatic change on job and lifestyle and everything. One of the traders I've been reading about, he says, he's been ordering from Amazon during the day. And he says, why am I ever going to go back there by car? Why don't I just pay the extra $20? I have an extra 2 hours to trade the markets, make tons of money. This is a trend that's not going to be reversed.
Yeah, definitely. I think for better or worse, it's led to a lot of change.
Sure.
One of the great things is it has greatly reduced the barrier to entry for products. Yeah. We're able to take products like Urban Born, and we don't need to wait for a purchase order to come from Home Goods or TJ Maxx or Pier 1. We have an amazing product and we're taking it and we're selling it directly. Similarly, the manufacturer is not making a 8% margin trying to sell it at wholesale. He's making a 60, 70% margin because we're able to really understand the cost of the goods, what we need for Amazon, what we put into advertising, and we're able to reinvest that. So we're able to take a very different approach than you would ever be able to take in a retail environment.
Yeah. Sure. Max, I want to speak a little more directly about COVID, though. Give me a couple more specifics, how it's changed your life and how it's changed your business. Any other themes you could mention to us?
Yeah, definitely. I think COVID has given us a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities. Yep. Honestly, one of the challenges has been we've had that many more calls. When people can no longer do in-person advertising and they can no longer sell at retail, they turn digital. And, although we wish they had been here 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we're happy to have them now, better late than never. But at the same time, we've had to say no to clients as we just work to grow our capacity. The other thing is some clients not being right for digital, but just having nowhere else to turn. The other thing that's been amazing is we're blessed that we work in a capacity where working from home is not a problem at all. Yeah. We can work as efficiently from home. You miss the FaceTime, and we're able to go into the office, fortunately, because we have a pretty big space that's very, very social distance friendly. But at the same time, we're able to be conservative about it. When we have something happen, we can, have everybody work from home easily without missing a beat. We have contractors globally that we've worked with for years that handle little things here and there that it hasn't changed that capacity at all. Unfortunately, one of my favorite parts of the gig was traveling. So that's cut down immensely. I traveled a little bit in December, but that was the first time I had in about 8 months. ironically enough, I was in Las Vegas at one of the biggest trade shows in the world when COVID essentially broke out. And I left, and I had actually been at 3 trade shows over about a 5-week period before that.
Yep.
And you saw people starting to get a little uneasy. You saw people putting out hand sanitizer at a greater capacity, maybe not shaking hands. I got to the World Construction Expo, the Con Expo in Vegas. And there were people who actually had badges. I'm not shaking hands, please fist bump or please elbow bump, when that was just starting to trend up.
Well, Max, how is that affecting people though in their late 20s and 30s? Obviously myself and there's others who are a little higher risk, and we're extremely cautious and conservative, but still in your bracket. Are you finding out that the people of a younger age are still realizing that this could be very serious? There could be side effects that go on for a long time. I was just curious, how is that affecting the business community of your ilk?
Yeah, I think it's definitely had a different impact. I think people are a little bit less worried about the long-term impacts for sure, right? They're not as forward thinking maybe as their health as it'd be nice for everybody to be. I have asthma and I'm also a big runner. So I think I'm very conscious about that.
Sure you are, yeah.
But at the same time, I definitely have friends who sort of question what they're doing, and their sanity at times.
Yeah.
I think it has cut down on travel in an amazing way. Even my friends who used to travel are maybe going on, not even half as many, not even a tenth as many trips. As I said, I've only been on sort of one series of trips, which was for a special event where we actually partnered with Michelin, Michelin star restaurants, to do a live stream event. The whole idea of which was to get people to order from high-end restaurants and bring that experience into their home. So it's a really, really special event designed around COVID, which was really cool to be a part of. But even that had unique challenges. We had to make sure we were in locations for only a certain amount of time to avoid quarantine. We had to make sure we were getting tested continuously. So I think because of the need to go through all these preventative things, it's led to people to work differently. They're not traveling, they're working from home. But I think it's also led to a lot of really interesting work-life balance things that have sort of come out.
Agreed.
I can't tell you how many of my friends have gone out and bought a puppy. Everybody from my girlfriend down have gone out and gotten a puppy. They call them pandemic puppies. And I think that's been an interesting thing because they're home all day and they want the company. Also, I can't tell you how many of my friends and colleagues have moved out of the city. Real estate in and around Fairfield County has absolutely exploded. I was actually for a couple of years in the Economic Development Commission in Wilton, which is sort of like a marketing organization for the town. And I still get the real estate reports, and real estate is up literally 100% and doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I mean, it's just continuing to move week after week, as you see a lot of millennials who weren't buying houses, who are staying in New York, who maybe weren't starting a family. This mass migration, for lack of better terms.
Well, that's why the housing stocks and the builders are really exploding. Max, you've been such a loyal member and part of our board of the RnB group. Tell us a little bit about your experiences and why you're so darn loyal to us. Knowing the age bracket, we're generally a group of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And you are just so loyal. You've been such a contributor. You do your best to make the meetings, even if you're just coming back from a trip. Talk to us.
Yeah, definitely. I think I actually was at a meeting the day after I got back from 2 weeks in India.
Yeah,
so it's very true. I know. I if I can make a meeting,
you didn't have the best hair day, Max. You didn't have the perfect hair day, but
exactly. No, I never want to miss one. And I think there's a lot of things that go into it. And I'll tell you first about another networking group. When I was in college, I went to a networking group in New Hampshire, and it was a local BNI. And the two things that drove me crazy. The first was they had this extraordinary territorial nature. If there was a painter, there was one painter. Nobody else could be a painter. I was allowed to come in, but I had to come in as a social media manager because there was already a web designer there, and someone could not do both things. It was impossible. It was not allowed. And I offer a lot of great services we're proud to offer, and we are competitive with some people, but we're going to play nicely and have respect for those people. And a lot of times we work with them. because we're also complementary. And then it was also extremely transactional. First, someone got up and spoke for 20 minutes about something I didn't want to listen to because it wasn't applicable to us and took up half the meeting. And then they started trading chips. I would like to thank so-and-so for the referral this week, and so-and-so. And then they would sort of like call people out on the rug, like, hey, you haven't made in your referral. I was like, this, if you have a referral, you should make it. And if you don't, you don't, but you're gonna do your best. And you want to get in the room with people who are just good people. And I think that's what you've done such an amazing job of, Jay, is
Thank you.
putting good people in the room.
Well,
I think it,
right.
I think it definitely is such a different approach. The first, you don't have this transactional nature. You don't have some speaker taking up half the meeting. But on top of that, I think you have people who are like-minded, who want to get in the room, who want to help each other, who are not just, you don't have 45 people who are there all selling. You have people who are transacting in a real way. And the number one reason that I come back above and beyond anything else is it works, right? As great as it is to be in a room of people, it has to work. Yeah. And it's worked really well. We have clients that, by all means, we've gotten from the group. We have clients that have gotten us clients from the group. And I think that's one of the things that really is amazing, is that power of networking and building a strong network. We have, I always kind of like to look back and think how we got to certain clients. It's always interesting to me. We have a client called Pindu that we've built this really great online services marketplace in Fairfield County. And we're really
go with that group at some point.
So I am. So I'm still actively involved. I'm basically the outsourced CTO. We have an equity stake in it, and it's a really cool concept. Well, I got to that group because someone who comes to the RnB group, who also owns a series of liquor stores, who we managed all of the social media, which was a really fun project for a number of years, said, hey, I have a friend whose friend is building this online services marketplace and needs some help with technology. Why don't you talk to them? So, it's sort of a third level connection coming from the group.
And Max, it's just funny. I always love the look on somebody's face when they're asked me to describe things that make us a little different. And I always say with a big smile on my face, we're also schmuck free. And you could see the look on their face, but that word almost describes the group, besides all the talent in our groups now. So, and talented, nice people who want to share. And Max, you are an absolute classic example of that. And I always brag about you, and I talk about where I was at age 21 versus where you were even at 16. You're a wonderful, wonderful success story. We're absolutely thrilled to have you in this group. And I just wanted to allow you another few seconds to say any last comments to close up the interview.
Yeah, more than anything, Jay, thank you so much for having me on here. Really is phenomenal to be a part of the group, to call you a friend, to be involved, in this capacity. I mean, it really is something that is something I look forward to. It was really great, obviously, when we could be in person, but even online, to watch the work that you've put into making this amazing group grow globally. I mean, to having people, to having people from across the US. But even when we were local, I think it's important for people to know we in Norwalk, Connecticut, had people coming from Boston, from New Jersey. I was at the group when we had people there from Arizona, from Oklahoma, from Florida, that would plan a business trip so they could attend a meeting because they used to attend when they were local. And I think that really is the most amazing testimonial you can have to the efficacy and to the friendships people build there, is the way they come back, sort of like a homing pigeon coming back to roost. I mean, in this amazing way, people want to be a part of it. They want to continue to be a part of it. And there's a reason that there's people who, as long as I've been coming, there's people who've been coming twice as long, who have been coming since it's practically started. I think it's an amazing testament to the work that you put into making it a success.
And Max, you forgot about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Shame on you.
Yeah, how could I?
Well, Max, besides you being a great friend, a great businessman, and a shout out to our producer, Larry Wilner, who puts these together and coaches me and really has been such an amazing contributor and producer himself. All you guys, especially Max, you today, thanks for taking time out. We know there's a lot of things going on in your world that me not being so global, I might not even understand. But thank you so much. Thank your, and I adore your father for having you and being such a great father that you've developed into the wonderful young man that you are. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.